Lekha, I'll coordinate the discussion today, and helping me will be Lekha Mataji, Karan Prabhu, Kameshwar Prabhu, and Nityakishwari Mataji. So, as you all know, we're doing chapter 6, sorry, Canto 6, and today we are expected to start chapter 2, and we've been doing the Ajamila Katha, and the and today is the day that we are going to see the arguments by the Vishnu Dutas. But before we start with that, let us, let's quickly summarize what we have heard so far. So in Canto 6, in the first chapter, the key question that was posed by Maharaj Parikshit to Sukdev Goswami was, how can human beings be saved from having to enter the hellish planets or hellish conditions in which they will suffer terrible pains? That was the main question. That's the question that I feel that we should all remember from this chapter. And then Sukdev Goswami first explains the Karma Kanda steps, and that doesn't satisfy Maharaj Parikshit. He says, what is the use of such atonement if one cannot get rid of the sinful propensity? The verse that comes there is about the elephant which throws dust on itself after taking bath. So even though the elephant goes in and takes bath, it comes back and puts dust on itself, gets dirty again. Then he explains the Jnana Marg. Again, Maharaj Parikshit is not satisfied. And he describes how, if a bush gets burnt completely to the ground, all the leaves are burnt, the branches are burnt, but the roots are still there. So the roots can again get life. So then, the story of Ajamila comes about the Brahmana who's very learned, and he marries a prostitute. He's from a really good family, but he ends up marrying a prostitute. He commits sins, and he has many sons, and one of his sons he names him Narayana. And as Vamshidhar Gopal Prabhu gave us the backstory as to why he was named Narayana a couple of weeks ago, and that is his youngest son. And the time of his death arrives, and he sees the Yamadutas. And when he sees the Yamadutas, he calls out the name Narayana. And so the Yamadutas are already there, and they're trying to take his soul away. And the Vishnu Dutas also appear because Ajamila uttered the name of Narayana. And the Vishnu Dutas stop the Yamadutas from snatching Ajamila's soul. The Yamadutas were surprised, and they were saying, who are you, who are challenging, the area that Yama is responsible for. And so the Vishnu Dutas asked the Yamadutas to explain the meaning of religious principles and the symptoms of a religion. And that's when the Yamadutas say that the Vedas is the basis for the religious principles, and everything that is done not according to the Vedas is irreligious. So we all know that in Bhagavad Gita also there is a verse about this, chapter 16, verse 24. Tasmat shastram pramanam te karya vyavasthitam Yatva Shastra Vidanoktam Karma Kartum Iharhasi. And that also says that we have to follow the Shastras, and that is what will tell us what are the right things to do. And the Yamadutas go on to describe that all the humans in this world cannot avoid sinful actions, and all of them are punishable. And Yamaraj can observe all our actions at all times. And just as a silkworm ties itself in its own saliva, and it binds itself down, the living entity also binds itself down with all the fruitive actions that they do in this material world. So after that, the backstory of Ajamila is explained as to how, how he took up the prostitute and how he gave up his wife. And the Yamadutas conclude that he has led a sinful life and he should be punished. And so that is what we have heard till now. And today, this section will be more about what the Vishnudutas say and how they chastise the Yamadutas, and how they explain why the Yamadutas are wrong. And we can start this background. If anybody has any reflections, it will be nice to get any reflections that you have from what we have done in the last 2-3 weeks. And after that, we can start reading, and we'll start with Lekha Mataji. So any reflections?
So I just want to, first of all, thank you, Prabhu, for this wonderful summary. I just wanted to mention that this particular pastime has so many wonderful lessons. So it has the lessons of good association, bad association. Bad association, I'll just explain very briefly, was Ajamila getting association of the prostitute. The good association, it is mentioned in the Shastras, that when the Vishnudutas come and when they are speaking about the glories of the holy name, that is the good association that purifies Ajamila. And then also the importance of seva. So the seva, the importance comes when the prostitute had the opportunity to serve the Vaishnava saints, as you were explaining. When she was pregnant, the Vaishnava saints come in and then she serves them unknowingly. And then the benediction that you get by serving real Vaishnava saints is that they told her that, why don't you name your son Narayana? There's one thing we'll request, and see the benefit of good association, the benefit of seva, the importance of the holy names. So all these things are there in this particular pastime. So the more deeper we go, the more we understand all these wonderful gems of this pastime. Just wanted to mention that. Thank you, Prabhu.
Beautiful, dear. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Anybody else for any reflections? Great. If Lekha Mataji is there, maybe Lekha Mataji, you can start us off by reading you can go with the first and second verse. I know you have to leave early today.
Okay. Should we share the screen, Prabhu? Krishnan Prabhu, do you want to share?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, thank
you. Actually, just one more reflection.
Please.
Yes, go ahead, Jitan.
So, this is a quick one. So, we know the backstory that the sadhus came and suggested the wife of Ajamil to name the kid as Narayan. Now, it was actually she took that advice, right? So, similarly, when sadhus come in our lives, it is our free will whether to take their advice or not. So it so many devotees go for Harinam Sankirtan, but not all people take to that association, really take to it in the sense that embrace it. So that is also one thing that I wanted to highlight. So not just good association, but also we need to use our free will to accept that good association.
Wonderful point, Prabhu. Thank you so much for sharing. And one more thing, even I realized while I was reading this, is how in the generation before me, or in my generation, almost every child was named with the name of with God's name, and that suddenly changed in the 70s or 80s. I think most Indian names are still God names, I think. But they were very explicitly God's names, in our generations. And so Lekha Mataji, if you can.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, so just reading the translation and purport, right? Or did you want to read the verse as well?
I think if you're comfortable reading the verse, I think you can do that also.
Okay. Verse 6.2.1. Shri Badarayanar Uvacha Evam te Bhagavad Dhuta Yamadhuta Vibhashitam Upadharyata Than Rajan Pratyahur Nayako Vidaha. Translation. Shukadev Goswami said, "My dear king, the servants of Lord Vishnu are always very expert in logic and arguments. After hearing the statements of the Yamadutas, they replied as follows." Verse number 6.2.2. Shri Vishnu Duta Uchuhu Aho Kashtam Dharma Drisham Adharma Sprashate Shabham Yatra Dandyeshva Apapeshu Dando Yer Dhriyate Vrita. Translation. The Vishnudutas said, "Alas, how painful it is that a religion is being introduced into an assembly where religion should be maintained. Indeed, those in charge of maintaining the religious principles are needlessly punishing a sinless, unpunishable person." Purport. The Vishnudutas accused the Yamadutas of violating the religious principles by attempting to drag Ajamila to Yamaraj for punishment. Yamaraj is the officer appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to judge religious and irreligious principles and to punish people who are irreligious. However, if completely sinless people are punished, the entire assembly of Yamaraja is contaminated. This principle applies not only in the assembly of Yamaraja, but throughout human society also. In human society, properly maintaining religious principles is the duty of the king's court or the government. Unfortunately, in this yuga, Kali Yuga, the religious principles are tampered with, and the government cannot properly judge who is to be punished and who is not. It is said that in the Kali Yuga, if one cannot spend money in court, one cannot get justice. Indeed, in courts of justice, it is often found that magistrates are bribed for favorable judgments. Sometimes religious men who preach the Krishna conscious movement for the benefit of the entire populace are arrested and harassed by the police and courts. The Vishnudutas, who are Vaishnavas, lamented for these very regrettable facts. Because of the spiritual compassion for all the fallen souls, Vaishnavas go out to preach according to the standard method of all religious principles. But unfortunately, because of the influence of Kali Yuga, Vaishnavas who have dedicated their lives to preaching the glories of the Lord are sometimes harassed and punished by courts on false charges of disturbing the peace.
Any reflections, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu, it's actually like I think Prabhupada, when we've been just reading this purport, even we ourselves in our movement, we have heard about a lot of stories that uh, the devotees, especially like Prabhupada disciples, that they had to go through when just because they had to like distribute Krishna consciousness, and whatever we have now is actually like mercy and their sacrifice, that whatever we are enjoying now is a result of their sacrifice and all the like difficulties that they had to go through. I was just thinking about that.
Well, that's a very good point, and this means that Prabhupada was so sensitive to the fact that his disciples were, going out to do Harinam, and they were being harassed, and he was always concerned and worried about all his disciples.
Right.
Anybody else? And the other thing that stood out to me, one of the things that I thought was interesting was how he says that only if you have money, only then you can get justice, and if you cannot spend money in court, one cannot get justice. And that is true even now. And even though we live in a country which is very fair and has a good judicial system, even here, without good representation and without good lawyers, you cannot get good justice, and people who cannot afford good representation end up in prison. And so that also it was interesting that Prabhupada maintained that. But wasn't this verse a little bit jarring? I thought, he starts with the Vishnuduta start how with by accusing the Yamadutas, saying that, how can those in charge of maintaining religious principles needlessly punish a sinless, unpunishable person? And that's a little bit jarring, because we feel in the material mode that obviously Ajamila has done some bad things. So it was a little bit jarring. And any other thoughts, anybody?
Yes, Prabhuji, I was also thinking the same way. Yamaraj being one of the Mahajans, how is it possible to for him to kind of fall off from and being been accused of? I was also thinking that, but I guess the only thing that came to my mind was that this is kind of an exceptional case. This is not to be seen as taken as a example and being followed on, like, oh, I can do anything I want, and then towards the end I can chant and the Vishnu Dutas will protect me. But this is one such exceptional case, and exceptions do happen, even for great kings, that did happen, that they had a momentary kind of I wouldn't want to call it fall down, but kind of doing something that is not so following the religious. But I think they all had to happen so that the pastime can continue. So it is not that they are being put in that case. Like Maharaj, in the case of Maharaj Parikshit also, he would in his wildest dreams he would not even think of putting a dead snake over esteemed rishi, but he did, so that we can so many people like us can benefit from the birth of Srimad Bhagavatam from it. So I guess it is to be taken in that sense, that even for a great person like Yamaraj to do such thing is only for our benefit, for the benefit of the mankind, that this has happened, and not because of their fault. It's how I convinced myself.
Wonderful. Yeah, that was great realization. Anybody else want to share something?
Yeah, actually, Prabhuji, I just want to add 2 points here. As Mataji already told, this is a really exceptional case, very rare case also, but it gives a lot of teachings for us. Like, take home, we can take a lot of information from this pastime. Actually, Ajamila has given, he deserved to give a second chance. He has been given second chance. Because of that only it so happened, because he deserves second chance. So we don't know like how many of us deserve second chance, but definitely first chance has been given for us. First chance means human birth has been given, and also fortunately we got good association. So we need to make use of the first chance, whatever it is given for us. For sure, we got first chance. As we don't know whether we deserve second chance or not, so let us make the first chance in this lifetime, and let us complete our goal in this very lifetime itself. That is just my reflection for it.
Very nice, Prabhu. Thank you so much. And was there somebody else who had a reflection?
Again, a quick one. So there is a letter of the law and there is a spirit of the law. I guess the the Yamadutas followed the letter of the law. So again, the purpose of dharma is to bring us to a love of God. One symptom of which is to chant the names of God at the time of death. And so that is the spirit of all dharma. But then again, there is the letter of dharma as well, which if we follow isolated in some ways, then it causes a problem. So just like when Bhishma, when Draupadi was disrobed, Draupadi came and she pleaded with Bhishma that how can you let this happen? And then Bhishma that time he started analyzing. You know what? Okay, the wife is the property of the husband. That is correct, but hold on, the husband himself is gone in the sense that he has lost himself. So he started analyzing all that. So he started analyzing the words of the law, but he forgot the spirit of the law. Similarly, the dharma that the Yamadutas were talking about was more from the letter of the law perspective. But the Vishnudutas, they would seek the essence, and then they will know the spirit of the law. And the ultimate spirit of the law is bhakti, because that is where dharma gets its highest, like dharma goes to the highest pedestal in case of bhakti. So that is something I may not be very accurate, but from a not from a bhakti perspective, from a bhakti perspective, of course we can think that this is all to teach us a lesson. Yeah, from a purely yeah, karmic perspective, I think.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful realizations, Prabhu. And I think we'll get more of that, of so how the glories of the human of the Lord's name are also will also get explained later. So if there is if there are no other, let's continue. Maybe Karan Prabhu, you can go next, and you can read the next verse.
Yes, bro. Text 3. Prajanam pitaro ye cha shastra sadhava sama yadi shyateshu vishamyam kamyanti saranam praja. Just 1 second. Translation. A king or governmental official head should be so well qualified that he acts as a father, maintainer, and protector of the citizens because of affection and love. He should give the citizens good advice and instructions according to standard scriptures and should be equal to everyone. Yamraj does this, for he is the supreme master of justice, and so do those who follow in his footsteps. However, if such persons become polluted and exhibit practic partially by punishing an innocent, blameless person, where will the citizens go to take shelter for their maintenance and security? Purport. The king, or in modern times, the government, should act as the guardian of the citizens by teaching them the proper goal of life. The human form of life is specially meant for realization of oneself and one's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because this cannot be realized in animal life. The duty of the government, therefore, is to take charge of training all the citizens in such a way that by a gradual process they will be elevated to the spiritual platform and will realize the self and his relationship with God. This principle was followed by kings like Maharaj Yudhishthir, Maharaj Parikshit, Lord Ramachandra, Maharaj Ambarish, and Prahlad Maharaj. The leaders of the government must be very honest and religious, because otherwise all the affairs of the state will suffer. Unfortunately, in the name of democracy, rogues and thieves are electing other rogues and thieves to the most important post in the government. Recently, this has been proven in America, where the president had to be condemned and dragged down from his post by the citizens. This is only one case, but there are many others. Because of the importance of the Krishna consciousness movement, people should be Krishna conscious and should not vote for anyone who is not Krishna conscious. Then there will be actual peace and prosperity in the state. When a Vaishnava sees mismanagement in the government, he feels great compassion in his heart and tries his best to purify the situation by spreading the Hare Krishna movement.
Thank you, Prabhu. Maybe you can share some reflections.
Yeah. So I think the most interesting thing is like how Prabhupada starts this purport. So he says that the government should act as the guardians of the citizen, and then like he's saying, not only like in terms of physically and providing justice, but that actually it is by teaching them the proper goal of life. So, like basically giving spiritual education. And he ends also by saying that that the Vaishnava feels great compassion, and he purifies by spreading the Hare Krishna moment. So yeah, I like it's very interesting how Prabhupada is saying that spiritual education and following the spiritual principles will actually lead to real like satisfaction, and that will really solve the problem.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. This reminds me of some of Prabhupada's, Srila Prabhupada's writings, where he wanted judges and government officials to be very, very competent, but also to be Krishna conscious. So he didn't want, just, he wanted all of the administration to be run by Krishna conscious people. So he actually, I've read that he encouraged his disciples to run for office, at least in Atlanta and some other places, so that they could bring good principles into government. Yeah, that was very. I think that there is a lot more to do, I guess, in that sense, because we can take. This might be a little bit controversial, but we can take Krishna consciousness to mean leading our lives in a Krishna conscious way, which is very good. But in addition, playing the role of infusing Krishna consciousness in government, so that the government itself acts in a Krishna conscious way, and also helps its citizens and helps people become more God conscious and gradually seek their relationship with God. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Baba, I just want to add one point here. Yeah, as Prabhupada expected, no, actually the government should be pro to the Krishna consciousness principles and all. Actually, India, for example, the current situation is only one person is the hope for the whole country. He's trying to bring back Sanatan Dharma, and he's trying his hard, like he's trying his level best to establish all the Sanatan Dharma principles. He's personally going to the temples and trying to bring them into the line, and he's renovating wherever necessary. But still, it is Kali Yuga, no? Many people are like, almost all political parties are now they're trying to unite and bring this person down. So this is the nature of Kali Yuga, like, no? So definitely they may succeed. We don't know, like one person when he's trying to bring it again because of the Kali Yuga mentalities and modes, things are going bad, like, no? Because we don't know how much he will be successful. But this is a situation in Kali Yuga. So yeah, even Prabhupada thinks that ideally it should be KC pro government, like whatever government is, yeah, it follows promotes Christian consciousness. Maybe things will be better and society will be for the well-being of society. That will be the best policy. But we don't know like how far it is possible in this Kali Yuga. This is just I want to.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Prabhu. Any other reflections? One more thing that stood out to me was here, obviously, Srila Prabhupada is writing about Nixon, I think. And he says, recently this has been proven in America. So maybe it was written around the time that President Nixon was going to be impeached. Any other thoughts? Or we can go to the next verse, and maybe Kameshwar Prabhu, you can read 6.2.4.
Yes, Prabhu. 6.2.4. Yad yad acharati shreyam itaras tat tad ihate sayat pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate. Translation. The mass of people follow the example of a leader in society and imitate his behavior. They accept as evidence whatever the leader accepts. Purport. Although Ajamila was not punishable, the Yamadutas were insisting on taking him away to Yamaraja for punishment. This was adharma, contrary to religious principles. The Vishnudutas feared that if such irreligious acts were followed, the management of human society would be spoiled. In modern times, the Krishna consciousness movement is trying to introduce the right principles of management for human society, but unfortunately, the governments of Kali Yuga do not properly support the Hare Krishna movement because they do not appreciate its valuable service. The Hare Krishna movement is the right movement for ameliorating the fallen condition of human society, and therefore governments and public leaders in every part of the world should support this movement to completely rectify humanity's sinful condition.
Yeah, any reflections, Prabhu? And what did this verse remind you of?
Yeah, exactly same verse was given in Bhagavad Gita 3.21. Almost like same, at least the second line is exactly the same. It is given in Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, exactly. 3:21. Yad yad acharati shreshtaha tat tad eve taro janaha sayat pramāṇam kurute lokas tad anuvartate.
So there the translation is whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. The same verse, almost same verse was given both in Srimad Bhagavatam as well as Bhagavad Gita. Here actually one example is here long back in a football, world famous football player. He was being facilitated in a big meeting after his victory. I think this happened in America. I don't know exactly where it happened. So when in the facilitation meeting, everybody, so many audience were there. So they were given water bottles as well as they served Coca-Cola bottles. This famous guy, the sportsman, he just put the Coca-Cola bottle back and he took the water bottle front. And he started using only water bottle throughout the meeting and he avoided using Coca-Cola bottle. This made the sales of the whole company falls down like almost like few $1,000 million. So they face a lot of loss because of this small incident. And the second incident, another incident recently happened in India is the famous South Indian film actor Rajinikanth. Maybe most of you might have known. He started chanting one round and he wore Tulsi Mala in his Kanti Mala. This happened the whole Tamil Nadu. Next 1 year, Tulsi Mala, there is a lot of scarcity for Tulsi Mala. Nobody is getting Tulsi Mala because everybody started using it, everybody is buying it and putting it on their neck. This just happened for some time and again he stopped and slowly it has faded away. That is different, but these two examples really matters a lot. Like so, how people are follow their role models. So this is a responsibility. Actually, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells, every Indian is a role model. Every Indian every person who took birth in India is a role model, and he has the responsibility of spreading the Sanatana Dharma throughout the world, wherever it is possible. Tare deko yare Krishna I forgot that quotation. So wherever you go, wherever you see, you have to say Krishna Kada. Like that is the given quote by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it seems. So being born in India, that is the responsibility of each and every citizen to spread the Sanatana Dharma throughout the world whenever he gets a chance. So this is my reflection.
Beautiful, beautiful reflections. Very nice reflections, Prabhu. Anybody else? You can react to Kameshwar Prabhu's reflections also.
So was it one round of the Hare Krishna mantra that Rajnikant chanted, Prabhuji? Kameshwar Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Actually, he was influenced by some temple. He visited it and he convinced the philosophy, and he started chanting for few days. Like after I think 6 months or 3 months, he followed. He tried to follow principles, and he chanted one round. And then the news came, big news came long back. This happened, I think, plus years back.
Okay.
So then again he somehow he has gone back. Like now he stopped everything and he's not following it. And then he started some other philosophy, like he started Ayyappa Mala, no Ayyappa. So then he switched out to some other thing. Like before that he tried this also. He tried for a small span of time. So during that period, the whole Tamil Nadu, nobody is getting Tulsi Mala. Like he wore sometime. After that, he removed it. So now, again, he went back to other philosophy.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu. So the instruction that you mentioned is Jare Deko Tare Kaho Krishna Upades. What it means is, I mean, this is an instruction by Lord Chaitanya. It means that wherever you go, whomever you meet, Jare Deko Tare Kaho, what do you tell? Deliver the message of Lord Krishna, Krishna Upadesh. So Jare Deko Tare Kaho Krishna Upadesh is the instruction of Lord Chaitanya. Thank you for sharing that, Prabhu.
Is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. I think Madhya Leela. I don't remember where. Does anybody know where it is mentioned? Jitendra Prabhu?
No, Prabhu, unfortunately.
And one more thing is he mentioned, no, like being born in India, you need to spread Sanatana Dharma. That is also given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that is Bharata Bhumite Ache Janma Haila Yar Janma Sarthaka Koro Para Upkar. So, yeah.
That is also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
That is also CC. Yeah.
Okay.
Nitya has a comment, I think.
Yes, I have a comment, bro. I'm not sure if this is true. Maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But before Srila Prabhupada went and to or came to America, there were no it was not a popular thing to do for sannyasis to visit Western countries, or maybe the disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta Swami did that. But before that, it was not a like a customary or a culture to do that. Where I'm going with this is that Srila Prabhupada established as a leader that that culture where sannyasis can travel overseas to spread the Krishna conscious movement or God conscious movement. And then today there are so many of these so-called sannyasis. I mean, some of them are probably very genuine, but many who are not, they are also following suit to come to this Western world and expand their movement or whatever their agenda is, or so many such things have happened, like the Isha Foundation, I'm thinking, it's not coming to my mind, but the Sudarshan Kriya Yoga, who was that person?
Art of Living,
Art of Living, the Sri. And so many such people have come and preached for the benefit. Of course, definitely there are people who benefited from immensely from following those transcendental meditations or or Kriya Yogas and stuff. But I was just thinking that could Prabhupada be a forerunner of all of these, so that, you know, the other leaders can also follow? I'm just thinking, it's a wild thought. I just thought.
Yeah, it's a nice thought, Mataji. And Vishal has commented that the Coca-Cola and water bottle example that Kameshwar Prabhu shared was Cristiano Ronaldo who did that. He's a great football player, and that is soccer player.
Which country, Prabhu? Which country that one happened? In America?
Ronaldo, I don't know. Maybe Vishal Prabhu. I've heard the name Ronaldo, of course. Is he Spain?
He's from Portugal.
Oh, Portugal.
Yeah.
Portugal.
Portugal. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Which year, Prabhu? Which year it happened? After Prabhupada, before? Any idea like when this happened?
I mean,
When what happened?
No, this incident, like in Portugal, this soccer player.
Oh, this is a
whatever,
recent guy. This is a recent guy.
this happened.
Yeah. He's very new, like he's young and all. But yeah, just one thing to add to Nitya Mataji's point about like she said how Prabhupada was like the forerunner for all of them, for all these other modern gurus, sannyasis who came. And actually, one more point there is, it is actually forbidden in the karma shastras to come to cross the ocean. So to cross the ocean and come abroad. In the karma shastras, the karma sannyasis, so there is a concept of karma sannyasi. The varnashram, which is like typically which was the case, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas. So those were the karma sannyasi. So for them, of course, it was forbidden to cross the ocean. But then there is some complex shastric hermeneutics and things that Vaishnavas use, and they say that the sannyasis can travel abroad if it is for preaching the glories of the Lord. That is the main point there, and that's what Prabhupada did. And actually, if we see in Leelamrit and we see so many videos or whatever about Prabhupada, we will see that many of these gurus, they even before Prabhupada they would come. Like for example, Dr. Mishra, he came before Prabhupada. And then there were so many other impersonalistic gurus, sannyasis who came before Prabhupada, right? So, but Prabhupada, when he came, the wave that he created was much, much bigger than what all these other gurus created. It was like Hare Krishna was like a household name that time. So not only was he a forerunner for those people who came after Prabhupada, Prabhupada was also an exemplar for those who came before him, because the success that he achieved through his dedication was unmatched ever before, like that.
Yeah, and I've also read articles about when Prabhupada came, the other sannyasis who were here were wearing suit, and they were living on the Upper West Side, which is the more wealthier side of New York City. And Prabhupada actually stayed in the Bowery, where which was he was amongst the people. So that was the other thing that was pointed out. Yeah, 1965 definitely, and and he was 70 years old when he came. So many, many things there. And any other points on this particular verse? So we can. So Kameshwar Prabhu, you did read. So next we can go with Nitya Mataji. So
Yes,
these are
Prabhu.
the
So
two
both
verses
5 and 6 together.
Both 5 and 6 together. Yeah, please.
Yasyanke shira adhaya lokaswapiti nirvrataha swayam dharmam adharmam va nahi vedayata pasuhu sakatam nyarpitatmanam kritamaitram achetanam vishrambhamyo bhutanam sagrano dogdum arhati. Translation: people in general are not very advanced in knowledge by which to discriminate between religion and irreligion. The innocent, unenlightened citizen is like an ignorant animal sleeping in peace with its head on the lap of its master, faithfully believing in the master's protection. If a leader is actually kind-hearted and deserves to be the object of a living entity's faith, how can he punish or kill a foolish person who has fully surrendered in God, in good faith and friendship? Purport. The Sanskrit word Vishwataghata refers to one who breaks faith or causes a breach of trust. The mass of people should always feel should feel security because of the government's protection. Therefore, how regrettable it is for the government itself to cause a breach of trust and put the citizens in difficulty for political reasons. We actually saw during the partition days in India that although Hindus and Muslims were living together peacefully, manipulation by politicians suddenly aroused feelings of hatred between them, and thus the Hindus and the Muslims killed one another over politics. This is a sign of Kali Yuga. In this age, animals are kept nicely sheltered, completely confident that their masters will protect them. But unfortunately, as soon as the animals are fat, they're immediately sent for slaughter. Such cruelty is condemned by Vaishnavas like the Vishnu Dutas. Indeed, the hellish conditions already described await the sinful men responsible for such suffering. One who betrays the confidence of a living entity who takes shelter of him in good faith, whether that living entity be a human being or an animal, is extremely sinful. Because such betrayals now go unpunished by the government, all the human society is terribly contaminated. The people of this age are therefore described as Manda Sumanda Matayu, Mandabhagya hi upadrutaha. As a consequence of such sinfulness, men are condemned, Mandaha. Their intelligence is unclear, Sumanda Mataya. They are unfortunate, Mandabhagya, and therefore they are always disturbed by many problems, upadrutaha. This is their situation in life, and after death they are punished in hellish conditions. So I was listening to Prabhupada's class on this chapter, and where Prabhupada mentions that that there will be many sinful people, very few pious people. So the justice is done should be to protect such pious people. And there is also a common saying, I don't know from where it started, probably it has a root in Vedas, is that there can be many sinful person that can be punished, but not one innocent man is should not be wrongly condemned or convicted of a crime. So and Prabhupada mentions that in Satya Yuga there is literally no sinful man at all. In Treta Yuga there were 1/4 of sinful people and 3/4 of pious people. So the pious people was more. In Dwapar Yuga there is half and half, and in Kali Yuga there is 1/4 pious and 3/4 sinful. The sinful is more, and gradually all it will become all sinful. And Prabhupada continues to explain that no more preaching after that point where all the Kali Yuga becomes 100% sinful. No matter how much of the Krishna consciousness is being preached, it will be of no use. And just at that point, simply the cutting of the head happens. Like, sinful people will be just have their head cut off. Also one thing in terms of Ajamil is that he did not chant the holy name to redeem from his sins. He genuinely reached out to his son in a loving way. Whereas for us sadhakas, in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada mentions that the greatest offense that we can do is is the Namnat Balad Yasyad Hi Papa Buddhi. In the strength of the holy name, we commit the committing sins. So it's the one of the 10 offenses. And Prabhupada mentions that out of all the 10 offenses, the greatest offense is this one. So committing sins in the strength of the holy names. So what he means by that is that so we know that when we chant the holy names, our sins are wiped out. But then after we, it becomes, the balance becomes zero, we commit more sins, thinking that we can do it again. But then it doesn't happen like that. It is an offense, and so our balance becomes negative. It doesn't become zero, but it becomes kind of it's the good the pious balance becomes negative. So I guess that is why even though we chant, or even after chanting, we get the lifetime after lifetime of births, and still we we tend to collect more sins, is because of this particular offense that has been overlooked. But Ajamil did not do that. He was sinful in the beginning, but he never utilized Krishna's name to counteract his sins. He never did that. So it was not like willfully he did chant the name of his son Narayana, thinking that all his sins will be forgiven. So that was I thought it was very instructing example for me personally, to not to commit such offenses, and to know that the chanting of the holy names is for our benefit, and we should not use this as a means to perform more sins, and cause dig our own hole, actually, pretty much. I thought that I could share that.
Thank you, Mataji. That was great. And any other reflections from anyone?
Yeah.
One
Just
thing
so
I'll
actually-
share quickly. I'll just share one thing, Commissioner Prabhu, which was about the partition. That Prabhupada mentions the partition, and he also calls out the manipulation by the politicians that brought Hindus and Muslims to kill each other during the partition. And obviously we have seen it, continue throughout. And the other thing that was very Prabhupada portrays it so graphically, is the animal that is maintained by someone and is fed and cared for until the animal becomes fat, and then it gets sent for slaughter. So such is the cruelty in Kali Yuga, and so that type of cruelty is condemned by Vaishnavas. And what he says is, such betrayals now go unpunished. And so this reminded me of another statement by Prabhupada about where he calls out the Christian statement of thou shalt not kill. The way it is interpreted in modern times is thou shalt not kill another human being. And the way Prabhupada interpreted it was that thou shalt not kill, period. Thou shalt not kill anything, or any animal or any living being. And I don't know if anybody has heard that or read that and have any comments on that particular thing also.
Yes, Prabhu, that was one of my pet peeves about used to be, like, in terms of arguing about meat eating versus not. And this verse is always quoted from their the commandments, is that the thou shalt not kill is one of the uh, you know the refined commandments that Jesus Christ has given. And it was said to just be applicable to only to the human beings. And I think to some extent, I don't think they even believe that the animals have soul. So that is the reason why it was mentioned that only beings which have soul has this particular thing of being killed. So I think that was the argument, and it was always been my pet peeve about um, the, quotings from scripture and things. So yes, I have heard this, and yeah. But I was really like touched by Prabhupada's purport on this about betrayal, and how it shows how compassionate Prabhupada is even for living beings. He didn't use the word cow or anything, but he was compassionate to all the animals, about the goats and lambs. During the festival time, they are fattened up, and then the how much happy they would feel that their master is taking care of them so nicely, only to be cut at the end of the at the onset of the festival, and be killed. It's such a betrayal. And Prabhupada is so compassionate to even to these kind of creatures. It's just amazing. Kind of heart-wrenching as well.
That's true, Mataji. That's so true. And I think Kameshwar Prabhu was saying something. Kameshwar Prabhu, we interrupted.
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji, just to add a few points. You have time, Prabhu, like maybe 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, we have a few more minutes. Please go.
Okay. Yeah, as Mataji mentioned, look, thou shall not kill. I try to discuss with some Christians also. They never agree comfortably. They say that only human beings are having soul, others are not having. So they safely avoid that. But so that we cannot convince many times. They say the same thing. And secondly, I like it very much, like Jitendra Prabhu told, letter of credit and letter of dharma. So that is that's very.
I think did we lose Kameshwar Prabhu?
Yeah, I think we lost Kameshwar Prabhu.
Yeah. Any other points, Prabhuji? Actually, this verse brings us end to this particular section. Should we continue, Prabhu, or?
I think so. You can mention, Prabhuji, why we are limiting this particular. I mean, what is the theme of this particular section? The theme of this particular section is the Vishnu Dutas chastising the Yamadutas. That is the theme of these first 6 verses. And then the next set of verses will be about the Vishnu Dutas glorifying the holy names. So maybe we can read 1 or 2. We have some time. We can go till 10:15, if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely. So we can do that. Let me start sharing again.
Yes, bro.
One second.
While you're sharing, I'll just share one thing. So there's a prediction made by Lord Chaitanya that for Kameshwar Prabhu is messaging me. Yeah, that for the next 10,000 years, the Krishna consciousness movement will take off. It will completely take off. But after that, after he called it the golden age,
yes.
The golden age. But after that, it's going to degrade very, very rapidly. So whenever I think of this prophecy, and of course, there's one more prophecy that Srila Prabhupada made, is that the 3rd generation devotees are the ones who are going to really take it off. So like Prithu and the devotees of that generation. And so we are right now in the 2nd generation. So the 3rd generation devotees are the ones who are going to really spread Krishna consciousness movement all over the world in a very, very big way. So yeah, we won't be able to witness that, but that is the prophecy. And Krishna consciousness is going to take off for the next 10,000 years. But having said that, Kali Yuga is also progressing very rapidly. So even though we have 10,000 years to somehow go back home, back to Godhead, as Kameshwar Prabhu mentioned, we must try our best in this lifetime itself to make this our last lifetime and not wait for another lifetime, because we never know the influence of Kali Yuga, anything can happen. I just wanted to mention that. Okay, Prabhu, you can continue. Kameshwar Prabhu is back if he wants to say the same. Prabhu, you got cut off.
Yeah, I don't know why. In between it got cut off. I was asking about Manduk Muni's episode, Prabhu. Is it Yamraja's mistake, or is it happened? I just was trying to relate that incident, like where Manduk Muni cursed Yamraja to take birth as Sudra. So in that case, is it a mistake of Yamraja, or Yamraja followed, Jitendra Prabhu told, Yamraja followed letter of principles, and dharma is on the side of Manduk Muni. What actually happened there? Any idea?
I don't know, Prabhu. Gaur Kumar Prabhu, maybe.
No, Prabhuji, I don't know the details.
Yeah, we can maybe we can take that off. We can start with the next section. Kameshwar Prabhu, this is the section, as when you're off, we were saying that this is the section where the Vishnu Dutas glorify the holy name.
Okay.
And we will, maybe we can do one or two. I think Lekha Mataji is not there, so maybe Karan Prabhu, you can read one verse, and then Kameshwar Prabhu, you can read the next verse. Karan Prabhu, are you there? Maybe Karan Prabhu is on mute. So, Kameshwar Prabhu, you can go. You can read this verse. 6 to 7.
Okay. Ayam hi kurta nidvesho janma koti amhasamapi yad yajahara vivaso nama swasti ayanam hare. Translation. Ajamila has already atoned for all his sinful actions. Indeed, he has atoned not only for sins performed in one life, but for those performed in millions of lives. For in a helpless condition, he chanted the holy names Narayana. Even though he did not chant purely, he chanted without offense, and therefore he is now pure and eligible for liberation. Purport. The Yamadutas had considered only the external situation of Ajamila. Since he was extremely sinful throughout his life, they thought he should be taken to Yamaraja, and did not know that he had become free from the reactions of all his sins. The Vishnudutas therefore instructed that because he had chanted the 4 syllables of name Narayana at the time of his death, he was freed from all sinful reactions. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura quotes the following verses from the Smriti Shastra. नामनो हि यावसी सकीतिः पाप निर्हरणे हरेः तात्वत् कर्तुं न शक्नोति पातकं पातकी नरः. Simply by chanting the holy name of Hari, a sinful man can counteract the reactions to more sins than he is able to commit. Bharat Vishnu Purana. अवसेनापि यान् नामी इत्थिते सर्व पातकैः पुमान् विमुच्यते सद्यः सिंह praster mrugaireva. If one chants the holy name of Lord, even in a helpless condition or without desiring to do so, all the reactions of his sinful life depart. Just as when a lion roars, all the small animals flee in fear. Garuda Purana. Sukrut Uchairitam Ena Harir iti Akshara Divyam. Bhadda Parikarastena Mokshaya Gamanam Prati. By once chanting the holy name of the Lord, which consists of the two syllables Hari, one guarantees his path to liberation. Canto Purana. So these are some of the reasons why the Vishnudutas objected to the Yamadutas taking Ajamila to the court of Yamaraja. Yeah. Actually, in this verse, the glories of holy name was given with various sastric quoted verses, like in the Garuda Purana and as well as in Vishnu Purana. Quoted also recently we Lord Mataji shared Kavalastakam also. So in that the glories of holy name was given, like how glorious these names are. So that's why Vishnudutas exactly followed the Sastric quotes wherever it is given, and they justified by themselves by what means the Ajamela is eligible for going to Vishnu Loka.
Wonderful, wonderful realizations, Prabhu. And so all the three Puranas, Brihad Vishnu Purana, Garuda Purana, and Skanda Purana, all of them glorify the chanting of the holy name. And also it's the month of Kartik, so the benefits of chanting the holy name are manifold, the month of Kartik. And the any other realizations? So this word, somehow this force, when he mentioned the four syllables of the name Narayana, it reminded me of the Ramanuja story, where Ramanuja stands, he learns the mantra Om Namo Narayana, and he shares it with everybody in the city. It's a famous story.
You can mention a little bit on that, Prabhu. So once he shares, he was actually chastised. Why did you share? Then Ramanujacharya says that I'm willing to go suffer in hellish planets for millions of lifetimes as long as all these wonderful souls get delivered. So he really understood the importance of the holy name.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Prabhu. And then we can move on to the next verse. Maybe Nitya Kishori Mataji, you can read the next verse.
Sure, Prabhu. Text number 8. Etenaiva hi agonosya kritam syad agadhi nishkritam yada narayanaeti jagada chaturaksharam. Translation. The Vishnudutas continued. When previously, I think I'm getting a disturbance. I'm able to hear my own voice. Okay, thank you, bro. Translation. The Vishnudutas continued. Even previously, while eating and at other times, this Ajamil would call his son, saying, "My dear Narayana, please come here." Although calling the name of his son, he nevertheless uttered the four syllables, Narayana. Simply by chanting the name of Narayana in this way, he sufficiently atoned for the sinful reactions of millions of lives. Purport. Previously, when engaged in sinful activities to maintain his family, Ajamila chanted the name of Narayana without offenses. To chant the holy name of the Lord, to counteract one's sinful activities, or to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name is offensive. Namno bala yashahi papa buddhihi. But although Ajamila engaged in sinful activities, he never chanted the holy name of Narayana to counteract them. He simply chanted the name Narayana to call his son. Therefore, his chanting was effective. Because of chanting the holy name of Narayana in this way, he had already vanquished the accumulated sinful reactions of many, many lives. In the beginning, he was pure, but although he later committed many sinful acts, he was offenseless because he did not chant the holy name of Narayana to counteract them. One who always chants the holy name of the Lord without offenses is always pure. As confirmed in this verse, Ajamila was already sinless, and because he chanted the name of Narayana, he remained sinless. And it did not matter that he was calling his son, the name itself was effective. I think this also goes back to what that I was mentioning about the out of the 10 offenses, the greatest offense, and how we the sadhakas tend to accumulate the sins even after chanting the holy name, because in the strength of the holy names we commit sins. But in the case of Ajamila, he was he started pure. He started with zero balance. He committed a lot of sins. The sins accrued a lot, but at that time he did not chant. He did not offend. He did not offend the holy name. But later on, when he had a son and he called the name Narayana, those 4 syllables kind of eradicated all the sins that he was committing, that he committed in the past. And also he did not accrue more sins because he was not chanting offensively, because he did not on the strength of the holy name, he did not commit those sins again. So pretty much his balance again became 0. And since he chanted kind of innocently, that just by the strength of that name itself, using those 4 syllables, his chanting became effective. This is like a huge kind of instructive again for me, for how to not take the chanting of the holy name cheaply, in the sense that looking here and there and chanting or chanting offenselessly is very important, and how much this is stressed in our morning programs and stuff. It's actually this is very real. This is a very clear cut proof of how this is achieved, and Ajamila achieved that because he did not chant offenselessly, and immediately the Vishnudutas came and came for his protection. So what more proof we want, or what more kind of a motivation can there be besides this to help us chant more offenselessly, is my takeaway from this. And also, just a personal thing is that we've also named our daughter Radha Kripa. Of course, we call her Radha to shorten the form. And sometimes I also call her name out of love, but I also call her name out of in the sense of to condition her, like Radha. So I'm not sure how those will be counted. Just I was just thinking that. I don't know if it is a good idea for those for people like me to keep names like this for our kids, where it could be used in both good and not so good sense.
That's a wonderful. That's very, very nice. That also reminds me of a funny thing, Mataji. So my name is Krishnan, but my name at home is Srikant. So because Krishnan is my grandfather's name as well. So the theory is that if they name me Krishnan at home too, and if they have to like chastise me or something and, and yell at me, it'll be confusing because my grandfather may be around too. And so they always name the child. The official name was Krishnan, but they use another name at home so that they can, they can do what you were saying, easily.
Just one thing that Mataji mentioned, that sometimes she takes Radha's name to kind of correct her or chastise her some way. I guess that is okay, because even in that chastisement, the underlying motivation is love. So that is the difference between you calling Radha like that, or and Kamsa remembering Krishna. Even Kamsa would remember Krishna every moment, but that was genuine, motivated by hatred. But in your case, it's motivated by pure love for Radha, so it's good.
I agree, Prabhu. I agree with you, Prabhu, because that is Vatsalya Rasa. For example, Yashoda also punished Lord Krishna, Supreme Lord. She punished it. She beated him actually. So that is out of Vatsalya. So I think that is fine. You are right. Trying to correct the child out of Vatsalya, that doesn't make any offense. I feel that is my opinion.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jitendra Prabhu and Kameshwar Prabhu. I'll share my realizations from this particular verse. So I read this verse earlier in the day today, and this reminded me of Gaur Kumar Prabhu's class about falling down but not falling away. And so this was a very hope-giving verse, I thought, because even though Ajamila had committed many sinful acts, and even I may be committing many offenses and mistakes, but the hope is that the chanting of the holy name will counteract them and will bring me back, so that I don't fall away, even when I fall down. So I thought that was it was a very positive, inspiring verse. Anybody else? Any other thoughts?
We have about 5 minutes. If anyone who has not spoken so far, maybe Giridhari, Soham, Dhaval, Nupur, Vishal, anybody who's not spoken, if you want to say anything, please feel free to unmute and speak.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Prabhuji, shall I share one personal experience which is not related to the present topic, like if you have time?
Please go ahead. We have.
Actually, Prabhuji, recently I'm reading Prabhupada's Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, a small book about 350 pages. It so happened for me, I'm reading recently. And then in that, actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first, Sanatana Goswami first met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, very first meeting. So Sanatana Goswami just came, Sanatana came to Varanasi to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first time. At that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Chandrasekhar Acharya's house. So Sanatana Goswami, he came to know that he is there. So he went to his house and waiting outside. So this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to know Sanatana Goswami is waiting outside. So he asked Chandrasekhar Acharya to go and invite him inside. Then he came out and saw that he did not see any Vaishnava. He's one beggar is waiting. So he came inside and so told that no Vaishnava is waiting outside. One beggar is there. No, you call him. He is the only pure devotee. So when he came, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went and rushed towards him and he hugged him like. So Chandrasekhar Acharya was very surprised, like what happened, and so immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "No, you are." Then Sanatana Goswami told them, "No, don't touch me, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I am like pure. Don't touch me." Means he requested. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was telling that, "No, you are a pure devotee. I am I will be purified by touching you. So this I got a lot of realizations. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being supreme person, Krishna himself, he thought that he is impure. So that is the mood of our Vaishnava Acharyas and all. So whenever we are meeting Maharajas or whenever we are giving sannyasis, we need to follow this instruction. Like we need to remember that their mood is also like that. Their mood will be always like they don't feel that they are mystic yogis to give blessings by the touchings and all. So in order to make their favor, we should not rush uh, to get their touching, get their touching blessings and all. So glances, their presence, and the touch, all three are non-different. So they give same effect. For example, recently, 1 month back, our Jaipatak Mahaswami, Jaipatak Maharaj was visiting South India. First, he visited Hyderabad. He initiated around 100 devotees here, and then he went to Rajmundry Iskon Temple. There also he initiated. So near that Rajmundry, 15 kilometers away, one Goshala is there near my native place. So he is asked to go there. So he went there. That is around 15 kilometers. This 15 kilometers, around 500 bike rally was there. A lot of devotees came and they did a lot of bike rally, and they want to invite Jaipatam Swami at the Goshala. So he just entered, his car entered, and all the devotees, all the persons around, all the villages came, and it is like a ocean of all the people, and they did not even allow Prabhuji. They completely crowded around his car, and this irritates them, like no, because they feel they just came to make their presence, like no, they have to take their shelter or their presence in a positive way. So these guys, they want to just go and rush him towards him and take his blessings and all. So then immediately he did not even came out of the car. He went back. Just he's supposed to be there for at least like some time outside the Goshala. He has to get down from the car. He's supposed to get down from the car, but without that, he returned back. He went to Visakhapatnam. There he initiated another 100 devotees. So my take home is, so whenever Maharajas are sannyasis are visiting us, like that we need to take their presence in a positive way, and the presence itself is blessing for us. So why I'm telling is you are all fortunate enough to to come across all the most of the Maharajas will come and visit various temples, and you will get frequently this chance rather than we in India. So my request is take this as a lesson. Like so, whenever we think we are in the mood of Sanatana Goswami, that is gives a lot of attraction to the pure devotees. They'll observe, okay, then they himself they come and give their blessings, personal touch, whatever we deserve. So the main thing is we have to maintain the mood of Sanatana Goswami, and then everything will work out. That is my take home. So sorry if I hurt anything, but this is I just want to share my experience. So this is my realization, Prabhuji. Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much for your
definitely. Thank you so much. And Gautama Prabhu, another request for you. I forgot to say the prayers when we started. Is it okay to end with prayers, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, we can end with prayers.
Yes. Namo Krishna Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pesaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurapani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschata Deshtarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram
Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Thank you so much.